Hi, and thanks for joining me today. In this video, I'll be showing you the cards that I made using the Crafter's Companion box kit number 13. This kit is all about flower forming, and more specifically about foam flower forming. I do want to apologize at the outset that this will not be one of my flip videos where I create at least one flat, one layered, one interactive, and one pop-up card. Most of the cards that I have to share with you today are going to be layered card. This first one does happen to be a flat card, and I came up with this card just because all of the pattern paper was gorgeous, and I was really trying to think of a different way of using the dies that come included in the kit in order to just create a different look. And what I came up with was to just die cut it out of a little bit of the solid color cardstock that does come in the kit, as well as some uh, leftover pieces of pattern paper that I had from making my other cards. So here I am just using some of the solid cardstock as almost an accent piece that lets you kind of draw the eye in and move your eyes around the card, because with so much pattern on the card, your eyes will, I think, tend to gravitate towards those solid blocks of colors. And if you're following those lavender flowers from one to the next, your eyes will naturally just glance around the entire card. You'll also see here that I'm using a die cut topper sentiment that did come included in the kit, and it's beautifully foiled with gold, and you actually get a pretty healthy number of sheets of die cut toppers that are foiled in gold as well as silver, so you'll have a pretty large variety to choose from in both styles. One of the things that's a little bit different about this kit is that it does not actually include any stamps, so you won't see me stamping my sentiments on any of these cards, but instead using the toppers that are provided. And they do have a good variety of sentiments, so you'll definitely be able to find one that suits your needs. The card that I'm working on now does not yet feature the foam. I also wanted to use the flower dies that do come in the kit to create the 3D paper flowers that I am more used to making. And part of it was just for my own edification to see how different the flowers look when you use paper versus when you use foam. And that's just so that I can understand what the foam does to the shape of the flower. So one of the really nice things about this kit is that it does include a number of flower dies in varying shapes, and I think you get 4 or 5, I can't remember now, but you also do get a leaf die so that you can create these really nice kind of floral sprays like I have here. And the kit also comes with pattern paper, which is very standard for most of the kits, and colored cardstock to match as well. And I did use some of the flatback pearls that do come in the kit as the centers of my paper flowers. So here's my first foam flower, and this was a first for me. I have never made foam flowers before, so I really had a lot of fun with this kit, just learning this new technique. And to be honest, I had heard of foamiran, and I've even bought foam flowers before. I just never thought it was something that you could make yourself. I just always thought that you really needed something special, and I was never really too certain what type of foam it required, because I knew it was going to be different than the standard fun foam or craft foam that you can pick up in a hobby shop or a craft store. And so I just never even tried. When I saw this kit, though, I knew that it would definitely come included with everything that you need to create beautiful foam flowers. And True to Form Crafter's Companion also includes lots of educational videos to share and teach the techniques that you need to be successful and to create really pretty flowers. So I did watch a lot of their master classes and as well some of the inspiration videos that they have on the Crafter's Companion box.com website. So besides their tutorials, I did also see a lot of other videos on YouTube for foam flower shaping and foamiran flowers. And so I did prepare in advance to kind of educate myself a little, and I had so much fun creating these flowers. I know these may not be like the best looking or most professional looking flowers, but for my first attempt, I'm really happy with how they turned out. All of the flowers that I created with the foam, I did ink the edges, but this one I did something a little bit different from all of the others. I experimented with actually inking the center of each die cut instead of inking the outer edges of the petals. And I actually really think that this turned out to be my favorite flower because I see a little bit more color variation where it's a little bit darker in the center and a little bit more of the natural foam color on the outer edge. I was going for that look with all of the other flowers that I had inked up in the reverse. However, I think I inked too far or too much of the petal. And one thing to note, and I guess I kind of knew this going in, but not really, but the foam does shrink when you apply heat to it. And so when it shrinks, it will kind of bring all of that color in closer and intensify the color as well. You know, it's just less surface area. So the area that was not inked in the cases of flowers like the one I'm using on this card, that portion just shrinks. And plus, once you get the stamens in, the stamens also cover that portion. So the flowers where I inked the edges, they almost look like it's just one color. So I'll definitely be trying this technique again, but next time when I go to ink the edges of my flowers, I'll probably just stick really to the outer edges and not be so liberal with the ink. The other thing that I learned, and really I just should have listened to Sarah because she does mention this in one of her videos, that you should be generous with your stamens. I was being a little bit, not so much being precious because you do get a generous amount in the kit of the stamens and in a variety of colors as well. But I was just nervous about, punching a hole big enough to fit all of the stems through, and I didn't want to accidentally tear my flowers. But especially on a large flower like this, I think it could have benefited from maybe one or two more of the double-ended stamen stems. So I definitely recommend following Sarah's advice and being generous with your stamens. They, from what I understand, are not that expensive if you had to buy more, but the kit, it does provide a generous number of them. The other thing I wanted to mention is that there's also a generous supply of foam sheets too. So in this craft box, you're gonna get solid color cardstock in 8x8 sheets. You'll get pattern paper in 8x8 sheets, and you'll also get foam sheets in 8x8 as well. And the foam comes in a light purple, pink, yellow, blue, green, and white. So a lot of different colors, 2 sheets each in each of those 6 colors. So it's a pretty healthy amount. When I saw it, I wasn't sure how far that would stretch, but what I started out with for this card making session was I think half a sheet of the purple, pink, blue, and yellow, and just a little bit of the green, enough to cut out, maybe half a dozen or so leaves. And really, that was all I needed for these 8 cards. So I do think that there's plenty of foam in this kit to make the minimum number of cards that they suggest, and probably even more beyond that. If you are curious to learn how to do the flower shaping, as I mentioned, Crafter's Companion website and YouTube channel does offer a lot of video tutorials and what they call masterclasses on how to do foam flower shaping. And if you search on YouTube for foamiran, there's also a lot of videos from other crafters who have posted amazing tutorials as well. And I did shoot a separate video on how I happened to make the flowers that I used for this card making session. I won't claim to be an expert though, so don't take me for an expert, just bear that in mind. But I did want to just show what I did, and it's a little bit of a combination of everything that I watched from both Crafter's Companion as well as other crafters online. So that's going to be available. The other thing that is a little bit different about this kit is that it also, not only does it not include stamps, but it also doesn't include envelopes. Typically, these boxes include a variety of sizes and shaped card bases, which is true in this case as well, and in addition, coordinating envelopes to match those card blanks. And this time, they did not provide coordinating envelopes, mostly because I think they realized that you'll be making cards with a lot of dimension on them, and so more than likely you'll want to put your cards in a box and give your card that way. So instead of envelopes, they've actually provided templates that you can use to actually create boxes to gift your card in. And so that's a really handy tool. It's sort of like a stencil that you can then use, and they do have it marked out so that you can create boxes for, I think, your standard USA 2 size 5x7 and I think a 6x6 box. So you do have that option. I shot a separate video showing you how I made boxes for my cards, and I'll be honest, I did not use their template because I think making boxes is not overly complicated, and you don't necessarily need a template to create one, as long as you sort of have a good idea for the general approach for how to figure out how to make a box. And so rather than having to pull out a special tool and feeling like you are limited to just the sizes of boxes that particular template will allow you to create, you can apply just the general methodology that I show in my box making tutorial to make any size box. So if you happen to need a box for another size card, you'll easily be able to apply my technique to make any size box that you need. So that will be a separate video as well. I'll link to both the flower forming and box making tutorials at the end of this video if that's something that you happen to be interested in. And I have to say, this kit was so much fun. I had a lot of fun creating these foam flowers, and you can see I've got a leaf petal here that did tear, and I was definitely not going to throw it away, even though there's plenty of green foam, but I knew that little tear would be easy enough to hide. So if that ever happens to you, don't worry, you can always hide little mistakes like that. But I did find that the foam is just, it's soft, but at the same time, very sturdy. And I distressed these petals a lot. And I just used the technique where I pinch and rolled them just with my fingers, or sometimes I just rolled them on a silicone mat just to save my fingers a little bit from the friction. And they got really crinkly and wrinkly, which gives them that more realistic, lifelike look. But I didn't tear a single petal. I didn't put a hole in any of my flowers. It was just that one leaf that I was trying to kind of stretch it around my ball stylus to create that extra little dimension and curvature to the leaf. But otherwise, this foam really does hold up, even though it's so thin. And I think that might be one of the special properties of this type of foam. I'm going to definitely try to find more foam. I think Foamiran is a brand, if I understand correctly, but I'm not 100% sure what other brands do sell this particular type of foam. So I'll be shopping around just to try different things out. But I will admit, I had so much fun with this kit that I also bought the Crafter's Companion vintage lace collection, which is also about foam flower forming, and that also came with a bundle of foam. So I'm really excited for that to arrive and to dig into that collection as well. So if you've never tried using foam for creating these like really lifelike 3D flowers, I highly suggest picking up one of these kits, because it really does come with all the tools that you need, all the supplies that you need. You could pick up some specialized tools like a ball stylus, and I know Crafter's Companion also sells a flower distressing tool, but you don't necessarily need those tools if you don't have them. You can use things that you have around the house. As I mentioned, for distressing, I just rolled the petals with my fingers, and it worked just fine. I'm really happy with how they turned out, and this is only one style of flower that you can create using this special foam and these dyes. And I'm definitely going to have a lot of fun just exploring all the different ways that you can actually shape your foam. I know in Sarah's videos, she shows a couple or a few different ways that you can shape the same flower petal and get very different looks. So I'm eager to really try all of those new methods out for this first set of cards. I did want to keep it simple for myself just so that I could get a lot of practice doing the same style of flowers, so that I could really just develop that skill a little bit more. And I think obviously there's room for improvement, but I really love how it turned out. So I hope that you enjoyed these cards, and as I mentioned before, if you're interested in actually seeing how I created my flowers, I'll link to a separate video for that. And in addition, I'll also link to my video on how I made boxes for these cards. And I might actually give some of these cards away as gift sets to some of my family and friends, because I think they're just so pretty, and I think people will really enjoy seeing them, as well as giving them away to people that they love. Well, thanks again for joining me, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Thanks. Bye.